The siren.
I'm trying not to laugh. How y'all doing, everybody? What's going on? As you can see, I have a special guest here. It took a lot. I had to charter a private jet all the way from Lithonia, Georgia, just to get this lady here today. We got Dr. Jaquita Thomas. Did we ever figure out what your... No, you said you knew. What is your Wu-Tang name?
I would have to look that up. I don't recall.
Boo. Crane Bowden in the house. See, I know mine. Coach E. This is the GameFi podcast where we talk everything gaming, art, music, esports, and film. This young lady was on like one of our originals. She's been on a few times before, and I told her I have to treat her as a hostile witness guest because she's been gone for so long, and we would definitely want her to catch up with her and figure out what's going on. So definitely introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jaquita Thomas.
That's not your name. See, we did this the last time.
Did we?
Yes, we did. That's not your name. What is your name?
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Jaquita Thomas.
She better put some respect on it because she done went to school for all them years.
I did go to school a very long time.
Dissertations and arguing and defending and all that.
Listen.
Hey, listen, you got a PhD, you better show it. Because hey, I'm Professor Thomas. I'm a college professor now. I let everybody know. I don't be playing games, man. Shoot. We're doing our thing. And we got Jay Black on the 1 and 2s over there doing his thing.
Yo, who they?
Yes.
in his pumpkin orange.
I love it. It's my favorite
representing the Bengals.
Bengals.
Is it Bengals or Bengals?
Either way.
Either way. They getting the dub today?
Potato.
They getting the dub?
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. Okay, Joe Burrow, second year.
Bringing it back to Cincinnati.
Okay.
Right.
Who they nation out there. Good
Shout
luck.
out to all my family in Dayton, which is right outside of Cincinnati.
45 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, we're going to see. We're going to see Super Bowl Sunday, so that's why we're a little earlier today. We live again, season 3. We live out here. And where do they find us live? Because I don't want to say
LivehiphopDaily.tv.
Yes.
LivehiphopDaily.tv. You find us live every time we do it on every Sundays. We also live on here, and I'm gonna wave at people on the Instagram, Pharaoh's Conclave Instagram.
On the gram of Insta.
On the gram of Instas. We're live there too, so I'm glad everybody's here checking in with us. If you have any comments, any questions about the gaming industry or whatever you might hear us talking about, please make sure you add them on there. That'd be cool to go. And we're doing all this other stuff in here. So, we're just going to jump on into it, y'all. We got our first segment about to happen here. You ready?
I'm so ready.
Oh, my goodness. Hey. It's the gaming segment of the GameFi podcast. We'll talk everything gaming, arts, music, esports, and film. And we have an official game designer, professor of game design over here. He's going to drop some knowledge about what's going on and some of the stuff that we have going on and getting ready for as well. So thank you all for joining us. Again, this is season 3. Hey, we right into it. This is like episode 2 of season 3. So y'all been rocking with us for season 1, season 2, and we've done things progressively better and better. We're live again, so you can follow us. You're going to see all kind of stuff on social media coming up, and it's real fun. We're having a good time, but this is the gaming segment, so we're going to talk a little bit of gaming. And I have some games I brought with me today that we play because, gaming is not just video games, right? You got board games, you got card games. What else?
Paper pencil games. Come on,
Paper pencil. Oh, tic-tac-toe, SOS.
Come on. The box
The
game.
box. What box game?
The one where you draw the lines. Everybody draws a line, and then you try to make boxes and put your initials in them.
SOS.
Oh, is that what that's called? Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, you're so silly. So it's a lot of games we play, but everything is game design is built on the same mechanic. It doesn't matter the medium of the game, how you play the game.
Right.
You create it the same way.
That's right.
But it's the same way you create a program. I mean, it's a cycle. It's a process that you go through. So can you tell us the process of game design? Can you tell us the cycle?
Sure.
What's the cycle of game design? Like I'm testing her. She got a big whole doggone PhD. I almost said a bad word. So what's the game design cycle?
So generally, the game design cycle is a cycle of cycles. Typically, it'll start with brainstorming, which is where you come up with as many ideas as you can. Sometimes they're wholly original ideas. Sometimes they're based on other games that you've played, which is a very common method for designing games. But you come up with as many as you can, and you articulate the formal elements and the dramatic elements, and we can get into that, what exactly those are, if you wish. And then you narrow it down to a set or a small subset or one idea. And then you move into storyboarding. Storyboarding is like, if you've ever, oh Lord, I'm getting ready to date myself, but if you've ever opened up the newspaper and looked at a comic strip,
that's not bad.
Okay. Or if you've looked at a comic book, that's,
there you go.
that's the same thing.
There you go.
A storyboard is really a visual representation of the gameplay. And so you are visually representing through pictures, it's not an art project. So the pictures might be stick figures, but you're visually representing every single aspect of the game. Like, what is the player going to see? What are they going to hear? What are they going to feel? And you're representing all of that visually. So there's the visual elements and then the non-visual elements that are described. Then you can move into prototyping. Prototyping can be done a couple of different ways. If you're trying to design a board game, you'll generally create a physical prototype, which is where you will use, we've done it in shoe boxes and like boxes with craft materials where you create a physical representation of the game that can be played like the game itself. If you are designing a mobile game or a video game, you might design a paper prototype, which works similarly in that you're trying to make design decisions about different aspects of the game. So you represent them physically and you get feedback from your target users. And that's really important. That's called playtesting. And then you move from the physical prototype, you're going to move into the design document. The design document is like a living, breathing representation of the latest and greatest state of the game. And it's written in words. It's an actual document. And it describes everything from the objective of the game down to the suffix you're going to put on the assets. So like, is the music going to be in WAV files? Are the pictures going to be in JPEG, PNG, so on and so forth? And basically what you would do is give that design document to a development team, which would then move into the implementation phase. And sometimes people will have a software prototyping phase in between. It's like the paper prototyping phase, but if you have any questions that are still left about the design, so like, for example, should all of the resources or all of the weapons be made available to the player all at once, or should the weapons be, gradually revealed over time, you can create a software prototype, which is where you build out just enough of the game to answer the questions that you have, and then you play test it and you make a decision based on the feedback that you get. And the player is king and queen always. They're going to tell you what you need to do. You don't have to figure it out. Then you would move into full-blown implementation. This is where they would take that design document and they would actually implement it. And then you go through this cycle of implementation, playtesting, until you get everything just like you want it. And then you release it. And once you release it, you move into what we call quality assurance or maintenance, which is where you're, addressing bugs that might be in the program, or you're adding different levels, adding different features, So that's the overall cycle.
Man, see, and this is why I bring her. See, CJ Black, like, I've talked about this, but the person with the whole PhD in this stuff can really break it down to you in such a way that you need to know. And so we have a K through 12 and collegiate program that teaches this. Can you talk a little bit more about it?
Sure. So at the K through 12 level, we have after school and summer programming that focuses on multiple career pathways within the esports and gaming and digital entertainment industries. One of them is game design and development. It's something that we've been doing, oh my goodness, since like 2011.
Yeah,
a really long time. It's crazy to think how long that's been. Where we introduce young people to game design, and they actually design their own games. Our focus is on designing games for social change, and so we have additional conversation on the front end about community, what it is, how it functions, what exists inside of a community, and then young people actually look at their own communities to assess the needs, issues, challenges, triumphs in their communities, and they design games toward those ends. So some young people will design games that are intended to address a particular issue. Some will design games that are designed to bring awareness to a certain issue, and some will design games that are intended to bring action to a certain issue. So we've had young people design games from games about the Tuskegee Airmen to bring awareness to that aspect of history, all the way to environmental sustainability, all the way to food deserts. I mean, you name it. And the amazing thing about it is that once these young people understand that they can leverage gaming and game design as a tool for social change, and they can see the outcomes of that change, it's like this light goes off, like their minds open up, and the limits that they or their family or their community or media might place on them all of a sudden just don't exist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I like having you here. I'm gonna have to charter that jet more often and bring you out here for us. So with that, we had an opportunity last year to do a contest.
Yes.
Shouts out to Money Grant
Yes.
with DoorDash.
Come on, DoorDash.
And we had the DoorDash Game Design Challenge that we're wrapping up. And, COVID slowed us down. We couldn't do everything that we wanted to do in the sequence and the order in which we wanted to do it.
Sure.
But we have it done. We have submissions, and we have folks at different grade levels who are going to be submitting that, and
They already have.
They've already submitted it. We're going to be judging it. That's the next part. We're in the judging phase, and so they're going to be hearing back from us real soon on where they are and how they've been doing on that. And can you talk a little bit more about that DoorDash Game Design Challenge?
Sure. So we are super, super excited to have DoorDash be the sponsor of our Game Design Challenge. DoorDash has a game. A lot of people might not actually know that. They have a paper-based game that is designed to help you understand and get exposed to different kinds of food, and also to what it takes to deliver. So it provides some insights into DoorDash's business model as well. And so the challenge we put out was for K through 12 and collegiate students to design and create food-based games.
Food-based games.
And so over the summertime, when we ran Camp Level Up, we had about 12, maybe 16 workshops where we led young people who were interested in submitting through the game design cycle that I just described earlier. And they are going to be submitting those games along with some others who were not able to attend those workshops. They've already submitted those games, and they're currently being judged, but they all have something to do with food.
Creativity. I mean, the games that these young people came up with were
really awesome.
Really awesome.
And the cool thing is that the winners will get they'll get scholarships, other kinds of prizes, and then at the high school and collegiate levels, they'll have the opportunity to potentially get an internship with DoorDash, and then they'll also have their games featured in the DoorDash app, which is really, really, really cool.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Opportunities, again, that we don't necessarily get in our community, and we want to make sure that young people have an opportunity to show their creativity, show their thought process. I mean, again, the stuff they came up with was phenomenal.
It was.
Again, when that light bulb goes off and they just start to create, and it's like you just got to get out of the way and allow them to do it. And our job is to give them the tools and the pathway to be able to use all that good creativity. So
exactly. And then one of the other things I think that's really exciting about this year is the formal launch. Well, it really started in 2021 of our apprenticeship program, which is also about getting more senior high school students starting at age 16 and collegiate students into career pathways within game design. And so we have the only registered esports related apprenticeship program in the country, focused specifically on game design, with more pathways being added. And we have the only registered apprenticeship program in the Southeast that focuses on digital entertainment. So that's a really, 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 really big deal.
I know so we've recently, so this also dovetails into what the work we're doing at Morris Brown College,
Yes.
At our Ronald Floyd Thomas Center for Esports and Innovation and our whole degree program.
Shout out to Dr.
Also,
James.
shout out to Dr. James on that. But we've had several students from the community, high school students coming through who are interested. And when I say that, first of all, when I say I'm a professor of esports, they look crazy. They start laughing and they look at their teachers like, I tried to tell you that we could do this stuff. But they are happy that there's that opportunity for them to do. But then we talk about the digital entertainment industry, and we talk about on the gaming side how all of digital entertainment kind of lives in gaming.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about game design and we talk about esports, you can't help but to talk about some of the other things, ergo GameFi podcast. Yeah. The segments that we talk about on here, we get a chance to really talk about those different areas that students get in. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move to our next segment, which is the art segment. Here we go. Art segment of the GameFi podcast.
Sounds
brought
like
to
happiness
you
and joy.
Here on the Live Hip Hop Daily Studios. Live now in season 3 on LivehiphopDaily.tv. Did I say that right? I got it right. So we're coming to you guys in a bunch of different modalities. Coach E, Crane Violent, Professor Thomas sitting next to us. See, I got to do all mine because it's got a whole PhD, Dr. Thomas over here chilling out with us here at the Live Hip Hop Daily Studios as we are on the GameFi podcast, letting everybody know what's going on. Hello to everybody out on Instagram. We live there too. I see a lot of folks coming in, checking us out. We're going to make sure we're putting this out here because it's a lot of cool information that we're talking about, and we want you to do it. I'm at that ripe old age of 43 years old, and I'm actually, as I talk to some of my students, I'm kind of living a dream. I actually had an interview with one of my students, Judith, from Cristo Rey High School, and she asked me, what would do I love my job? Or it was a question, and I'll put that out there so y'all can see that interview as well. She did a phenomenal job. But I was like, I'm getting to live my job. What would I do? What would I suggest to students to be able to do sooner? I think that's what the kind of question was. And it was to get started because, if I really love video games from a young age, which also brings me back to another question. When did you fall in love with video games?
Oh, I was 7 years old. In DeKalb County Public Schools at the Oak Grove Elementary in Atlanta. And I was sitting in our computer lab. We had a computer lab at school. I was in 2nd grade, and we would get a chance to go in there on Fridays toward the end of the school day. And we got to play whatever games we wanted. And so I would always choose the floppy disks. So I'm really dating myself. I would choose the floppy disks for Oregon Trail and for Carmen Sandiego. It probably wasn't Where in the World. Where in the World was probably the second. Was Where in the World the original one?
Where in the World was the original one. Where in Time came after that one.
I did all of them. And I would even pull the floppy for Mavis Beacon Typing, which is not a game, but I type 190 words a minute. Like, it's real. I type a lot.
But it was couched as a game, and I don't know if Mavis Bacon did it, but I had Type Blaster at home.
I remember Type Blaster.
My dad had a Commodore 64. When I was in school, I guess Atlanta was a little bit behind DeKalb County when it came to computers and stuff. In the classroom, every grade I would go, next grade, when I would go up to the next grade, the grade behind me would get the computers in that
lab.
room.
Yeah, we had a huge one.
And so I didn't really have a chance to go to a computer lab until I got into middle school.
But see, I was in DeKalb County. We had the M2M program, which is official Black history. Shout out to Kaija Spencer, who posted on the Book of Face that this was indeed Black history. That program is no more, but DeKalb County had a minority to majority program. And so they would bus Black children to predominantly white schools, and they also had the reverse option of busing white children to predominantly Black schools. I don't think that option was taken very often, but they, I mean, but they did, and so Oak Grove Elementary was one of those schools. So when I was in 2nd grade and entering Oak Grove Elementary, I was one of 5 Black students across about 5 or 6 2nd grade classes. And so, so we had computer labs because, that's how inequality works.
I mean, true.
That's how it works.
True. And I know in Atlanta public schools, it was it was definitely a railroad track type of deal.
Yeah.
Because you had the schools that were pretty much all black, and you had the schools that were pretty much all white, which is North Atlanta side of the tracks. They would have it. But, they started the academies soon, at the high school level. And I want to say in Midtown, they started to have students to kind of, and I don't want to say integrate, like my mom were some of the original, back in the 60s, they were some of the original black students in Atlanta Public School that were integrating the schools. Yep. So another little bit of black history during this Black Futures Month.
To Geraldine Thomas.
Geraldine Thomas, Jerry, Miss Jerry, as a lot of them call her. But, Murphy High School was one of the original high schools that started to have the integration happening, because it was all white, and became Crim High School. This is on the east side of Atlanta. A lot of history. People think that was a black side of town for a long time. No, that was a predominantly white side of town. Decatur was also. And so, to bring in black students into those high schools, there was a lot of things going on. And my dad used to tell me stories about those challenges of integrating the school system, high school, because they would go to David T. Howard, which was downtown Atlanta pretty much on that mid side. That was Turner High School. Some of those were the black high schools, and then they started to let them go to Crim High School and some of the other ones on the north side of town. But that equality at the school system to allow students to understand what they could do if they wanted to go into a STEM-based field, or if they wanted to be lawyers or doctors. Yeah. In Atlanta, we started to have academies of magnet programs. That's what it was called, magnet programs at the high school level. So you could go to specific high schools around that was performing arts, science and math and engineering. Brown High School, before it was closed, was the one where you can go for medicine and do those things. So it was fun. I mean, we had a lot of fun, but to understand what our parents had to go through for us to get to that point.
Absolutely.
And to realize those opportunities we used to have. And when school counselors could be counselors in school and not have to be a bunch of other stuff, they could actually help students to really, the career and college and all that. They could really face that. We used to have this one little bitty lady, Miss Carruthers. She used to have her little push cart in high school. She'd roll around. She'd call you out of the class. Are you signed up for the SAT? Where's your college application?
Exactly.
I heard you weren't doing this in class. What is your problem? I mean, she was like, that was Auntie, Miss Carruthers.
I had that counselor too. Miss Brown was the only black counselor in my high school. And it's the same thing for me. I didn't pay application fees to any college except Spelman, because they didn't take a waiver, but she waived all my fees.
Spelman College.
Yeah.
Elite of the elite. I always mess with her about that. She's a graduate of Spelman College. I'm a graduate of Tuskegee University.
HBCUs.
So HBCUs in the house. We're doing our thing, and so but that was it. So in Cincinnati though, what was your school experience like when it came to, I don't know, was it mostly black school that you went to, or what, Jay?
Like growing up?
Yeah.
Elementary I went to mostly black, like to middle school, and then when I got to high school, I went to like a Catholic school. I went to an all boys school my first 2 years because I thought I was playing football and I was playing sports, and that was cool. Like that was just a different experience. It exposed me to like a different side of things. But as far as like with the electronics and everything, we had a computer class. Just like gym was like an elective, like a class that you would take. We had a computer class, and we didn't have our own personals at that time. But when I got to high school, I went to the Catholic school. That was the first. They had smart boards, and those they were kind of new at that time.
Yeah.
So none of the other schools had that.
So give me the years that you were doing this. See,
so
you talking about smart boards.
I went to high school, and my first year of high school was 2005.
Ooh, Lord.
Yeah. So it was around that time.
I was at the Universal joint downtown Decatur, and I was having this discussion. This young man, he was doing the email, and he was trying to he wanted to be nice in his email, but he was talking about somebody, and he was like, how could I say this person's ignorant but not be like that? I was like, well, give me the context. He gave me He's like, well, he just doesn't really know what's going on, but he's a good person. I was like, well, just say naive. And he was like, thank you. And then he put it in there. And we were just talking about school, and he was in school in the aughts, the 2000, early
the early
2000.
aughts.
And I was like, well, he went, nah, actually he's probably like 2010 or something crazy. But anyway, and I was like, man, you know, I came out of high school in 96. And then there was a guy sitting next to him was like, I came out of high school in like 80, you know, or 88 or something like that. And, you know, he was 88. And then we were just talking about it. And we didn't. Yeah, you know, the big thing was computers. Of course, we had shop. You know, you had where they were dealing with, you know, real mechanics and techie things like that. I love
the way it smelled.
It was fun. But they had the vocation side. See, Maze had vocation. You know, if you ever see that movie Class Act with Kid and Play, Maze was almost
like that,
like Class Act.
Science class and all that.
Yeah. So like you walk through, we had specific classes for the academy. Now it wasn't like you walked through and it was like a whole brand new school that didn't nobody else see, but conceptually it was kind of like that. You had general education, vocation side of the classes that you would take, but then you'd have the academy side of the classes you would take as well. And it was kind of like that. It was a dividing line, but I knew everybody, and I was kind of on both sides. I did JRTC, which was one of vocation, so I did Math, Science Academy, and JRTC, so I got a chance to see.
We didn't have that separation, right? So like advanced kids, because the magnet idea didn't populate into DeKalb County until much later, like once the M2M program dissolved. Then it kind of went in, and I think it dissolved in the late 90s. So you would have kids who were like me, who were in, you know, AP and advanced classes, who would take shop, who would take home ec, who would take, you know, all of those classes. There wasn't like the school nobody knew about.
See, that's how so the high school that I transferred to, so they had a program like that, and it was kind of like a separate high school. So my high school was called Corain, and then it was like Butler Tech. So Butler Tech was more so like people. A young lady can go and get her cosmetologist license in high school, and you know, and you know, they
smart.
had like the welding classes and all that, more the hands-on type stuff. And I was in a program to where I left. I can't think of the name of the co-op. I was in a co-op program my senior year, so you know, I would leave at 12. You know, but they had those different programs that was hands-on. They didn't have cooking classes like, you know, the home ec classes and nothing like that, but. Yeah, they did have the opportunities to where you graduate and you certified. You graduate from high school and you certified. You can go get a job in plumbing and you know, working on automotives, all that. So,
which I think a lot of students don't take advantage of, because those programs still exist
They do.
now in the schools. And we roll by in Rockdale County and some of those other schools in DeKalb County that have those schools that allow students to come in and to work on certifications and stuff.
I think you should have. My personal opinion is that I think everybody should have a trade. I think everybody should get certified in some type of trade, in addition to, you know, going to school and getting some type of schooling. With the way that inequality works, you know, Black people almost have to go to get something, because otherwise that will be the excuse as to why you can't have the opportunity, you know, that someone else has. But I would always say, if you're not sure, get you a trade and then major in business so you can be an entrepreneur and set it up for yourself. Yeah.
Now I'm gonna bring this back on track to the segment. So we're in the art segment here. A lot of people think that you have to. There's a separation. There should be a separation between art and STEM or STEAM. Well, STEAM brings the art into it,
right.
But you know, the technology side of the house and then the art side, there's no conflating of the two. How do you feel about that?
I disagree wholeheartedly. I mean, the reality is, if you talk to a scientist, a mathematician, a computer scientist, a chemist, a psychologist, or whatever, most scientists are also artists. They play an instrument, they sing, they compose music, they write poetry, they express themselves, they paint, they sculpt. Most of them do that. Science, as a discipline in the way that it is taught, teaches us, it beats the creativity and the art out of it, right? So like in K through 12, mathematics is taught as everything's already known, but there is a field of theoretical mathematics, right? It's a language where they're still discovering things. Every field has that. So there's an art to everything, and there's a science to everything. And that creativity allows you to make those leaps and those bounds that you can't make otherwise. And I think if we would teach STEM subjects, and if we would integrate art more, like, I'm a big proponent of project-based learning, which basically, you know, says that you have this very complex problem, a complex question that leads the learning. And so students learn what they need in order to investigate and solve that problem. And I think if we taught things more that way, it'd be a lot more connected. And you wouldn't have so many students who say, oh, I'm not good at math. What does that mean? Like, if you handle money every day, you're good at math. You're great at math.
If you walk across the street without getting hit by a car, you're good at math.
You're a computer scientist.
I mean,
okay?
You are calculating. I told this to the students the other day. I'm like, you are calculating, distances and speeds and probabilities. Yes. So you are not getting hit by a car if you're trying to cross a street. There's so many complex algorithms that you're performing inside and calculations inside your head that you're doing, which is why they are modeling AI after the human brain, because the human brain is the ultimate computer. Yeah. And they're not doing well in that. And I told them there's not an AI out there that can do what the human brain can do on that. And so the creativity in art allows the brain to explore things that have not been explored. So I started talking about Star Trek and all those movies that had, the holodecks, which is VR, which had the helm screen when you were talking to the Ferengi or the whoever. That's what we do now on Zoom. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? We got our tricorder, which is our cell phones that are in our hand. All of those awesome things, were imagined by somebody.
Absolutely.
Using that creative side of their mind. And then the technical side took over and said, well, how can I actually make it happen?
Right. Absolutely. I mean, when you look at small children, they are the consummate creator scientists, right? Like, they walk around and they explore their world, and maybe they fall and they learn, oh, I don't want to do that. Or, maybe something really awesome happens and they try to do it 11 times to understand how to make it be something that happens. They try to understand. They're always creating, they're always exploring, they're always searching. And so we have to bring that child's positioning, that child's mentality into everything that we do. But everything has an artistic component to it. And when you try to separate those two things, you end up feeling unfulfilled.
And that's why students check out with a lot of different things they're doing, especially when I was teaching in my math class and my science classes. They would check out because they standardized testing and the push to make sure that they were meeting this on a CRCT and all that kind of stuff. It pulled out that creativity because they were like, you had to meet these certain milestones along the way. So there was no more room for creativity and time for them to kind of experiment and things like that.
Exactly. But then you get those students into my college classroom, and it's like I'm forcing them almost to be creative. And it's been beat out of them for 12 years. And it's like all of a sudden I expect this light to come on, this switch to turn on, and they be creative.
Which is why we do what we do in our class, in our career pathways. We make sure we bring that creativity at the beginning.
Yes.
So they know they have permission to create.
Well, and that's the most amazing part of it, kind of tying it back to the previous segment when we talked about game design, because when you let young people lead and start from a place of their own interest in the things that really matter to them, they will be they're more excited and engaged in the learning, but they're also more willing to push through and learn concepts that may be very, very complex, but that are in service to what they're trying to accomplish. And so they'll fight through it. And they'll be so gratified when they achieve whatever it is they're trying to achieve. I just am a firm believer that the K-12 system underestimates. It underestimates our young people. Young people will rise or fall to whatever expectation level you set for them. And we have to demand more.
We have to demand more. And you know what I'm demanding right now?
What?
We move on to the music segment. Let's get it. Y'all like that transition. See, I'm working on it. We live now. I got to get more, into being like a for real host and everything.
For real?
Yeah, for real.
What would Pharaoh say?
What? What you talking about?
To this music?
I don't know what he say to it.
You don't know what he would say?
I don't know what he say to it. I don't know. We're going to have to bring him on here and let him try to spit some hot fire on here. GameFi podcast, where we talk everything game, arts, music, esports, and film. Special guest host today, we have Dr. Chiquita Thomas over here.
I'm not really a special guest, you guys.
I told you we had to charter a jet to get her down here because, she's never able to make it to what we're trying to do.
We can talk about that.
How many times have you actually seen her in this studio? You probably count on your hand.
She was in. Listen, she came for season 1,
and then
she got the she got the network check and left us. She became a star.
Exactly, man.
Season 1 and left us.
Let me tell y'all something.
Man, I'm telling you,
that darn Pandeezy. You know, I became a hermit.
Yeah.
During the pandemic,
I guess
I did, and then you know. It's challenging. It is very challenging. We could have a whole. In fact, we should one day. We should have a like women of GameFi segment where we have a ladies takeover because
give me a day off.
Maybe we'll do that for Father's Day.
Oh wow! Oh, see, I gotta wait all the way to June
because it's a lot.
Because we gotta get on their schedule. Yeah, see, it's not just.
You gotta get Mother's Day out the way first. You gotta see how Mother's Day go first.
Because it's a lot, man. It's a lot. It's a lot trying to balance everything. And for me, one thing that the pandemic did for me that I know in talking to my friends that it did for a lot of us was that it made me get very clear on the things that bring me joy. And it made me get very clear on the fact that I need to rest. Mm-hmm. Because, like I was a Olympic ripper and runner prior to the pandemic. And that's just not sustainable. And in order for me to be whole, in order for me to be a good mom, a decent wife, a good employee, a good business owner, I have to be whole. I have to feel myself and not rip and run as much. And so that, and then the duties that typically come with motherhood, taking care of children when they're sick, they will literally walk past the daddy and go to the mama for everything. So, that's kind of what it was. It was life, but I'm excited. Like, it's almost like working out. It's like, I don't want to get out of the bed. And then once you do, you have so much fun and you love it.
It was a whole
I'm
thing.
Happy to be here.
I told you I had to charter a bus. I had to have a chauffeur ready.
He did have to feed me. That's what had to happen.
Well, she greedy. She be wanting to eat all the time.
Absolutely.
I ain't got a problem because I'm greedy too. I don't miss too many meals. I understand.
Equally
we had to get started so I could get her some food to get here on time.
Yeah, that's hard.
Like that's something I don't know if moms and wives and women really think about that part. Like, when we trying to go somewhere and it's like, I know you got this whole routine, which I appreciate that you do to get ready, but then we know that there's other things you want to do, and we know I got to be here at this time, and so we have to push and it's kind of like we cracking them on that part, but it's all good. We have to do it. She's here, right? I told you I had to make it happen. But when you were talking about being whole and that just side of the faculty, how does music play a role in that for you?
Music.
Y'all like how I did that? I brought it back to the segment. See, I'm getting good at this. I'm getting at y'all.
But you know what? Like, the master doesn't point it out every time.
Nah, I have to, because you'll say, no, you didn't, and I gotta have receipts. Gotta have my receipts in the house.
You gotta have them.
But this is also, we're not just using this as a platform for us to speak about what we're doing. I want you all, our viewers, our friends, if you all want to do this, do it. And we're going to drop the nuggets along the way. So this is kind of like a teaching tool as well.
It is.
And so that's some things you got to do, because I have to get better at that. Because in order to be able to effectively do this, you have to be able to weave in and out of things and whatnot. And so
we have to be open.
We have to be open.
Yeah.
But back to you.
Music. Yeah, music is life for me. I think my first form of expression was in music. I sing. I won't be doing that today, but I do sing. And I produce music. I write and arrange. That's my first love. And when I was in college, I tried to keep those two halves of myself together. I tried to I was committed to being a scientist because I was passionate about that. And music always came so easy to me, singing rather, always came so easy to me that I didn't really consider it could be a career. And I was involved in things musically on the campus. I was in the jazz ensemble. I was in the orchestra for a hot minute. I also play instruments too. And But I never thought about double majoring, major minoring. I never thought about that. And I still beat myself up to this day for that. Because, you know, to be trying to really understand music in a theoretical way in your 40s with 3 children and a whole job and a da-da-da-da is a lot. But, you know, you got to stay true to your passions. So music is life for me. I think in songs. I sing all the time. Like, my children will ask me a question and I will respond with a jingle. So, you know, that's my language. That's my first language. Music is my first language.
And it goes back to the art, creativity, and back to, you know, just that technical side of like game design, things like that. All of that works together to allow you to be able to create and move down the pathway in a bunch of different areas that you're trying to do. And there's a lot of lessons that get taught in music that helps with mathematics.
Absolutely.
That helps in engineering and, you know, understanding structures and things like that. You know, if you're a painter, if you are a sculptor, working with different medium like clay and things, it just gives you an understanding of how to visualize.
So much science in that.
How to visualize what it is you're trying to do. And if you can visualize it, you can do it. And that's all that, you know, engineers do. They visualize it and they make it.
Yeah.
You know, and you got to have that maker mentality, that maker side of what you're doing. Even if it's a song, the structure of a song, how the notes and the harmonies, how does that stuff have to work together?
And it's all mathematics. Those relationships are all math.
And that's probably why math was one of my favorite subjects because, and I was really good in math. I was a percussionist, so we were always dealing with rhythms.
Yeah.
So just being able to place rhythms and knowing timings and things of that nature, you know, fractions, and just understanding that, having that understanding, it worked on both sides for me.
So there is a, I don't know if you would call it a genre per se, but it's bigger than a genre. There's a style of music. It actually even has its own rhythmic notation called takadimi, which is highly, highly mathematical. Look it up, Takadimi. I was at, and this ties into art as well. I went to see
music.
Oh yeah, we're in music.
It's
All the same.
It's all art.
We went to see, my daughter and I went to see Alvin Ailey on Thursday, and I know you were kind of sad because there were only 2 tickets and 3 people, but you know, it is what it is. So
that's how they do me.
There was an entire piece that was done by one of the dancers to Takadimi. That's the name of the song. And there was a very well-known, I cannot remember her name, Takadimi artist who, there's no music. She is the music, right? It's sort of like beatboxing, but it has its own syllable. It has its own syllables that you say at certain points in the rhythm. And the dancer did a choreography to it, and it was so cool to hear and to hear and see that language in 2 modalities, right? So I love that. I love music, all kinds of music.
I like music.
I love music.
Is that Ohio players?
No, that is the OJs.
OJs.
Ohio,
that's Ohio players. I mean, where they from? Ohio.
They from the OH.
That's where they got that sound from.
Yeah, that's the Philadelphia sound, though.
Oh, it is. Mm-hmm. Philadelphia sound made famous by folks out of Ohio. Hey, I guess you do what you do. You know, it's wonderful.
Gambling hook.
Music, see, even more music. We having so much fun on here. I love it. We're having a pretty good discussion. You doing all right over here. I thought I was gonna have to be a little bit more.
I try. I told you it's like working out. Like once you get on the track, you like, let's do it.
You're so funny.
Gotta get to the track.
You are hilarious. And so, anything else you any advice you would give out there to anybody who's interested in music? Doing and things, because I know you're doing some other work behind the scenes, and music technology and stuff like that. Is there any other advice you would give anybody who's thinking about doing that?
I would say that for me, part of the reason why I wanted to delve into music technology as a topic and really kind of understanding music theory a little bit more is because there is a science to it, right? There's a reason why certain songs strike you and hit you and resonate with you in a certain way. And so if you really want to open your music up, you have to study it like a craft. It is a craft. And, you know, vibrations will get you a long, long, long way just working off of this feels good, but there's a reason why it feels good, and you can actually engineer that feeling. So I would say whatever it is that you do, be you a producer, a beat creator, an arranger, a singer, really, really study your craft, understand the theory and the practice of it.
Excellent. I think that's a great way to end our music segment and going on into our esports segment. So,
yay.
Drum Major, get the band ready. Esports segment, GameFi podcast.
You know, I ain't got but one good shoulder.
That's so fun. We ain't gonna talk about that. She's on the mend as well. That kind of
I did have surgery also. You guys.
Well, that's because you failed.
I did.
Kind of stuff. It was something else. We don't know what happened, but something happened on there. But GameFi podcast, everything game, art, music, esports, and film. This is the esports segment that we're starting to get into. I think after you wave to somebody, you can't wave to somebody that came before them.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. It works funny like that. But welcome everybody again on our Pharaoh's Conclave Live. And while she's doing stand routines and carrying on, to the Live Hip Hop Daily studio, to the GameFi podcast live on the LivehiphopDaily.tv.
Yeah.
We live, y'all. Season 3 in the house. Coach E, Professor Thomas, Crane Violent, Professor Dr. Thomas. J. Nicole is her music name.
It might change though. You know, I'm older now.
Oh, you don't want to be J. Nicole.
No, I'm cool with that. It is what it is.
All right. We're in our esports segment, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot of stuff going on. I wish I had my phone out, but HBCU The Yard.
Yes.
They just crowned their 2022 Madden 22 champion from Claflin University.
I took a picture.
We got his name. We're going to make sure we give him a shout out. Shouts out to Raj Chappelle. He's a professor over at Clark Atlanta University. He pulled this awesome thing together, so we're going to make sure we give them a shout out on this one. And further that, because there's a lot going on with HBCU esports and just esports in general around everywhere.
Here we go.
Different genres. Okay, here we go.
Congratulations go to Claflin University senior Eric, that guy DJ Minor. He's the Madden NFL 22 HBCU tournament champion. He competed in the finals against Rodney Rocco Tough McKay, who was from Virginia Union University. And both students actually received a trip to LA and tickets to the Super Bowl. So they balling out at the Super Bowl on today.
All right now.
Minor is going to get prizes, including a Microsoft Surface Pro X tablet, in addition to other official league products. So big shout out to Claflin University in South Carolina, to that guy DJ, and to HBCU Esports The Yard.
Yep. Awesome.
Yes.
We doing this thing.
I love it.
Act like, we got to let people know what's really happening out there and that, we're doing big things.
And I love that there is a ecosystem of Black and brown owners, company owners, and entrepreneurs who are in this space. And a lot of people don't know about that. They don't know about Exposure and Danny Martin out of Texas. They don't know about Keisha Walker and the Black Gaming Collegiate Association. Did I
Black
get it right?
Collegiate Gaming Association.
I always mix the two of those things. I'm sorry, Keisha. But they don't know about, she's based out of Atlanta, FAMU grad. They just don't know about all of the different aspects. What's Greg's last name? Lachey up at 404 Esports. I mean, there is an ecosystem of Black and brown entrepreneurs who are really doing awesome, amazing
Walter
things.
Game Experience, Lithonia.
Down in Lithuania.
There are some cool things. I know Black College Con is one of the things that
coming up.
Keisha Walker does, and there's going to be on February 26th. There's going to be a few panels. I'm going to be sitting on a couple of those panels just to kind of discuss, what you need to know in gaming or what you should know in gaming. And then there was one other one I'm doing. I can't remember off top, but there's some awesome things.
And it's
going
to be virtual. The Black College Con is going to be virtual on Saturday, February the 26th, and they're going to be giving out scholarships. There's going to be workshops, mentoring. There's going to be a lot happening there.
We're holding a watch party at Morris Brown College for the students from Morris Brown and the AUC. We're going to open it up, and then we're also going to talk more about some of the programming we're doing. We're going to talk about, because there's a did you say, is it consortium or
consortium?
Consortium.
Come on, Atlanta University.
The AUC, which means
is
a consortium, which means that students at the different schools can take classes at the other schools that may not be offered at their particular school, but they have an agreement that allows them to be able to do it. It's the coalition that has to happen because, it's to have a class or even a department or even a major sometimes is very difficult. It's expensive. It costs a lot of money. And so to allow your students to be able to benefit by something that's literally right across the street is a big thing to be able to do.
Big Mama from Soul Food said it. You got to be that fist.
And strike a mighty blow.
Strike a mighty blow. Right.
And you order 5 fingers and slap.
But you can do more damage with that fist,
But so we want to make sure that we are bringing together because what do they call it? They're not really calling it necessarily computer science departments anymore. Yeah, it's the language
interactive media.
We've been talking about it here. They're to a more move there because again, you have to bring in. It's kind of like when you added the A to STEAM to STEM and made STEAM to make sure that people understood the creative artistic side of technology has to be put in there.
It's key.
It's key. And so we're moving to that because when you're dealing with media and all the different areas, and we'll talk a little bit more about this in the film segment, when you're dealing with that, you're dealing with technology. You're literally dealing with technology. And so, that should be a part of that house, the computer science side of things. And I told the students as well, gaming is computer science.
Yes.
And that's one of the things we're working on with CS for Georgia and just this whole movement of how to repackage and rebrand computer science in K through 12 education. I think the way that we talk about it right now, not a lot of students look at it as something that's viable. They look at it as something that's stuffed shirt.
Yeah, and part of that comes from, there are a few things I think. One is that we don't have at the K through 12 level very solid curricula that are based in the things that we as learning scientists, because I'm also a learning scientist, things that we as learning scientists understand about how people actually learn, right? So we don't, and then two, we don't start from a place of grounding it in their everyday lived experiences. Like myself and one of my colleagues, Dr. Yolanda Rankin, who's at Florida State University, big shout out to her.
Graduate of?
Tougaloo. Went to Tougaloo and
out there in Mississippi.
Out there in the Mississippi.
HBCU.
Yes.
Another black woman PhD.
Yes. She and I created a module that teaches computer science through food and through recipes, which are examples of algorithms, right? So you connect it to people's everyday lived experiences. And I think, those two things, in addition to oftentimes our community, because I know, for example, as a black woman in computing, I'm so busy with doing all the things that I need to do as a computer scientist, but then also engaging in a lot of service that sometimes our community gets stretched thin. And that the result of that is that young people don't get to see examples, like people who they know and they can touch and talk to, who are living these lives that they dream about living. And so they think, well, maybe that's not something that, we do because I don't see anybody. I don't know anybody, who looks like that.
And this is my technology historian. Like I might not know, I know faces, but I might not know people's names. GPS was invented by?
Yes, honey, Dr. West. She is now Dr. West, Dr. Gladys West. And she got her doctorate from, I want to say it's Virginia Tech. She was doing her PhD one class at a time. This woman is in her 80s. But she got that, honey.
Did it.
Doctor.
Did it.
Come on.
So, a lot of technology, again, people don't know that their ancestors or people from their community that look like them have created.
Right. And we talked about when Hidden Figures came out all those years ago. And a lot of people were shocked, like, oh my God, I didn't realize that black women were doing math, were top mathematicians. I knew that because I got taught by some of those women at Spelman.
Mm-hmm.
What blew my mind though was that the West computers were the first computer programmers, some of the first computer programmers, and I was like,
before it was actual discipline, before they even called it anything, and it was a group of black women that were doing this on a daily basis.
Yes, they were computer scientists, and I was like, what? But now there's this narrative now that black women aren't represented, if you will, within computer science, but we've been here.
I think it's saying that you're not represented is you're not shown. It's not that you're not there, and actually it's two sides to a coin. Because you're not shown to be a part of it,
the narrative
is that you don't exist,
right?
Which then trickles down to the young people who don't see it and are inspired to do it.
Correct.
Because they see somebody, they might feel like they should do it, but because they don't see people doing it, they don't gravitate towards it.
Right.
I give that story with Gerald Lawson and on the video game side with his video game technology, and me as a young person who was thinking about doing a project on creating some video game technology. I didn't stick with it because I didn't see somebody look at me. But what I saw was black people doing, dealing in NASA and doing aeronautic engineering and rocket engineering and stuff like that, and working with lasers and stuff. I saw that and I went down that route, which was amazing.
Yeah.
But my true passion was trying to do something with the video games.
Right.
And
shout out to the Lawson family.
So that was Gerald Lawson, the father, Anderson Lawson, and his sister Karen Lawson, thank you, that are working definitely diligently to keep his legacy alive and continue to work on, because his son went into gaming.
Yeah, he's my Morehouse brother.
And, he graduated from Morehouse, and he's a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. And so, he's been mentoring there, and he started, his sister has their nonprofit.
That's right. She's executive director.
She's executive director, and he continues to do programs. He's done it with Roblox and some other folks, but he decided to do it even.
And in fact, listen, you can go back to season 1.
Oh, yeah.
Wherever you love.
If you go onto the YouTube, even our YouTube channel, we have an interview with them on there as well that you can take a listen to. Yeah. And even on Spotify and where you get your podcast, you can listen to the interview that we had with both of them as well. And they were also part of our. They were part of our national championship. We did a workshop, weren't they? Or did we just do that for the podcast?
I think we just did it for the podcast.
And I think we just used some of the audio recordings.
But that story is amazing, and to know that there are people, we've been here. That's just the message. Like I got to make the t-shirt, and that was in the 70s, before pre-Atari. They made Atari a lot of the stuff they did because they hired him to design games,
to help design games and design their hardware that they were using to take the Atari to the next level.
So shout out to the Channel F.
Channel F for fun. Fairchild. Channel F. That's what he did. I mean, I'll be on my soapbox talking about that all the time.
For real.
Film segment.
Okay.
Let's get it. Film segment here on the GameFi podcast, where we talk everything gaming, arts, music, esports, and film. We're in the film segment here in Hot Atlanta. Where it is great.
Call it Hot Atlanta.
Not no more.
That's what I'm saying.
I know.
We in the A, shouty.
This is Black History. I'm bringing out the name Black History, Black Futures Month. So I say it together. I don't just say Black History. I say Black Futures Month.
Absolutely.
Shout out to my boy Dedrick Sneed that has his Black Futures conference that happens with Subsume during this time as well. That they just had
They just had it. I mean, he was live for 8 hours. Wasn't it 8 hours?
I don't know. You was on there for some of them hours.
I had to tell him to go eat. I was like, look, you need to make sure you eat and hydrate, okay?
Man, but he was doing that. So, and that just gets into this film segment that we talk about, because when we talk about film, we talk about all production.
Yes.
Film production is no longer done on actual film anymore. Right. It is a digital medium. It is in the cloud. And the technology has made it accessible to people to be able to create all types of shows and productions.
Yeah. TikToks.
Yes, that's
have you done any TikToks?
I haven't tapped into TikTok, but like I think we talked about it. Like I commend the people that like that's actually video editing. That's
Absolutely.
not just something
have
simple.
You seen? There's a chick who did a TikTok of her creating a TikTok on her phone. Like she's literally like
crazy.
Zoom. I was like, what?
Kev on stage did like he talked about it was a parody.
Shout out to Kev on stage.
He was really, really giving her her props because what she did to take her head off and put her head back on while the song, she did it on the phone.
And she filmed
in
herself
like 30 seconds
oh my God.
or 60, however long it took her to do it.
And then he tried to do it.
It looked crazy, but I mean these particular folks in doing these TikToks. My daughter, we were looking at my phone.
It was hilarious.
She does TikToks, and I told her she can't do anymore if I'm not in them anymore because we got to be for real, y'all. A lot of this technology, for all the good it does, there is a dark side and an underbelly to this technology, and there are unsavory characters who are seeking out young.
Let's call them what they are.
Okay, predators, yes. And pedophiles, all them, they are seeking out young people on these technologies because they're the ones that are using it a lot, and so that is a breeding ground for them to be able to try to lure and trap some young people.
But I do think though, it's important that young people do have the opportunity to explore these different tools and technologies. Like we talk about all the time how our children love watching YouTube videos. Mm-hmm. Like they will go down that rabbit hole, okay? And they were watching people like eat jelly beans.
Like y'all saw me last. I sparked off my diabetes because I ate that boxer because I was trying to. Yeah,
that was the moment.
I was trying to do my little YouTube eating of the candy. Be like you saying, Jay, unbox toys. What are some other crazy stuff that you've seen that you can't believe people are doing on TikTok that people are like really watching?
I'm not really like I don't use TikTok, and I need to. And I was really gonna ask y'all, like, what do y'all see as like the future of like TV and stuff? Because like you say, people watch YouTube. People don't watch live TV anymore.
I think it's the on demand.
Yeah,
but even like that short content, like we gonna get to a point to where a TV show is gonna be 10 minutes long or 5 minutes long.
We already have some, actually.
Yeah.
If you go onto Netflix, some independent black shows run in segments that are like 3 minutes, 5 minutes.
People like that.
Oh, I love those.
People don't want to watch long form things. Like some people do, but they just want to see it and keep it moving.
Yep.
Exactly.
Scroll on your phone because everything is on the phone now.
It is. I think that what's going to end up happening is I don't believe there's going to be any necessarily one platform that's controlling our access to it. I think we're going to come to a place where we can create our own networks that show programming that we want to see. Right?
And I can see that because they tried to do that with cable where you can kind of pick the channels you want.
Yeah.
I think it's like you say, it's gonna get to a point
it's gonna get to
where
show level.
If I want HBO, Netflix, this and that, I can create my own streaming platform.
Yep.
For this price.
So my TV guy for that day, I know that I'm watching between the hours of 4 and 9 o'clock p.m. and my whatever device is already set up for my home to be able to know that this show comes on at this time. Like I remember growing up, like my parents, my grandparents, my grandmama would be watching. She had to watch her Price is Right, her stories, and all of that. And so at that particular time, when I turn my TV on, I ain't even got to change the channel. It just comes on, and those programs are going to show.
Exactly. I think it's going to come down to the show level.
I think that's how it's gonna. It's gonna be even as personalized as that.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't really think it's like time wise. I think it's still gonna be on demand.
No doubt.
I just pick like. I can, instead of me paying for this service, I pay one package of the services I want. And
put your own network together.
I think that's how it's going to come down to.
And I honestly think we'll be able to share our networks like we share playlists, on Spotify and stuff like that. I think it's going to be more like that.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Because I know we watch a lot of stuff that we want to do. I binge watched last night the Reacher series.
Is it good?
It was actually pretty good. It was, based on, I like TV shows based on books or those kind of characters like that they already have plenty of content to create those shows. And now that we're in a place where, it makes it easier for them to produce the shows the way they should be produced, you get a pretty good story. And because they release it now. It's been out for a while, but you get the whole series, so I can binge it, and that's a
Mm-hmm.
part of it too. People like to binge watch.
They do like
They like to binge watch. So.
Although I'm gonna say, you know, I am a proud member of the Power Universe fan club, and you know, and I just love the way that has turned into a universe like Marvel. Like that just makes me so happy. Yeah. And so part of me loves the fact that I do have to wait in some regard, and I think we'll be able to even control it that way too, right? I love when the next episode of whatever, we're now in Force, Power 4 Force, whenever that drops, like it's a whole thing. I'm in Twitter and Instagram groups and all kinds of stuff, and we watching and talking and just, I mean, I love the community that exists around that story. So I'm really into Power.
I like that format too, because it's like, even like with Ozark, I haven't watched the new one yet.
Yeah, I haven't.
But it's like the new one came out and then you watch the whole thing in a day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now it's like, now what I'm gonna do? So I do like when they stretch it out.
I think one of the ways you could do it is, I mean, like how we were saying, you schedule what you want to see. So you know, if so they are releasing these shows like after a season of one has already happened. They kind of do it that way. Yeah. But at some point, if the show is still continuing, it's not going to stop. You can literally set it up to where I watch Ghost episode, then the next I watch the Force episode with Tommy, and then I watch the next one with Kanan when that starts back up, and then I watch 3 shows. That's 3 hours. You know what I'm saying? And so that's your day, your night, and then it's time to go to bed, and then you throw in an Ozark episode, and you know, so you can do that. You don't have to binge watch them. You can set them up where you can watch 4 different shows. And
but
then the next week,
if it's a good show,
I want to go to the next episode.
I mean, that's how it was. That's how it was with Reacher, because every time something happened, I was like, okay, I got to see what happens next.
The last show I binged watched like that was Dear White People. And every time it comes out, I always binge the whole thing, and I'm up like a day and a half straight, and I'm canceling meetings and all kind of food.
Man, you don't want to pull away, and this high, so you try to do your work with it while you watching.
I can't do that. I gotta.
I can't either.
It's too many
I don't want to miss
details.
It'd be hard for me to watch TV because I have to watch it.
Me
Like I
too.
can't be on my computer because I'm like with Tommy with the Force. I was on my computer. But I'm like, I got to go back and watch it again.
Especially if you're gonna be in a group, because they would drag you to come in there with some foolishness. They
you ain't prepared.
Did you even
Like
watch
school
the
or
show?
something.
Did you even watch the show? Go back and watch the show. Why are you asking that
schooling
question?
me? Because I'm asking the question. Because I know y'all saw it. Y'all might have picked up on something.
You can't come in there
they got little details like, oh, the wall was red because of this.
Yes. The Easter eggs and all that.
And
stuff.
I like it when they do. I like when they were doing on that show when they had the Power Confidential, when they did the recap and they got a chance to talk, because you don't often get a chance to talk to the writers, which is another career pathway when it comes into film.
Insecure did that too.
You know, Insecure did it too.
Euphoria does that.
Yeah.
And it allows you to see what goes into making that, because people don't think about that. They'll just think, you know, they got the cameraman, you got the actors and actresses, producer, and that's it.
That's it.
But no, you got the writers, and then you got several different writers. You got the costume. I mean, it's
hair and makeup.
Oh man, which means
watch the credits. Like the credits are, you know, the credits are long.
People don't be watching no credits.
I do.
I mean, now that I'm in it, like I watch the credits.
Yeah,
right.
See, and that's honestly, this is just a tip for the film people.
Yeah.
That's how you get your budget. The credits.
Yep.
Because you prove you have your cost is usually payroll. Most of your cost is usually payroll.
Right.
Yeah.
But you have to prove that, and that's what the credits are. And I ain't gonna say. I mean, a lot of the times, big productions they fluff those credits.
They do.
A lot of PAs and all that. They ain't even paying these PAs, but it's all these names on the thing. So
right. So they'll say thousands, hundreds, and thousands of people working on a particular project. Yeah.
That's game.
To make them a line item.
I mean, that's good advice, and that's advice that applies to whatever. Like we were having a conversation even before we got started about how you have to make sure that you have the proper budget to execute on whatever your vision is, because you will be left holding the bag.
Right.
And a lot of times we, as communities of color, we think, oh, that's too much. No, it's probably not enough. Like whatever number you came up with, triple that. And that's what you have to do. That's what you gotta go with it.
And too, like, even though it's, like I said, it's looked at as fluff, that's just for the numbers, but that actually helps you out.
On your next project.
No, but on that project, because the more people that you have,
that's
you can delegate. Like,
that's right.
For what we doing now.
Yep.
Right now, I'm working the camera, I'm doing audio, all that.
You are
But
every man.
On a movie, it's one person doing everything.
That's
like,
right.
that has to just focus just on audio.
That's right.
That has to just focus on the camera.
That's
that has
right.
to focus on switching and all that editing. So it makes the job easier.
But that's what I'm saying. In the future, you have to document that. Yeah. And that's why, because in the future, what we're moving towards, which is what we're getting our interns ready for, is to be able to come in here and do the things so you can focus and kind of oversee it.
Yes.
And we have somebody that's dedicated to the camera. Somebody's dedicated to the light. Somebody's dedicated, because also,
so you don't have to lug all the chicken.
Yeah, that's our phrase, lugging the chicken. You got to do everything and the kitchen sink when it comes to a whole production. And you know, when you're going for sponsorships and sponsors, it allows you to say, hey, we got a crew of 20 people that are doing with us, so we have to pay, or it helps to justify.
Like you said.
Because they'll come back and say, why y'all want all that money? Well, we got 100 people working on this thing.
Exactly.
You know, to produce it to what it needs to be.
Right.
Right now, we doing it with a couple people, and it's a great production, more than some of these productions that got 20 people.
And that's the difference. I learned that, like, working with, like, larger networks and stuff. Like, they're not doing nothing different than what we're doing right now.
Right.
They just have dedicated people for every position.
Right.
So where it's not like the load is just on one person. Or, you know. So I think that's really the difference. That's really the difference.
That's working smarter, not harder.
Exactly. But you have to have that budget for it.
You do.
You
got
do.
to have the J Monte.
Gotta have the Monte. And with that, everybody, I think that's a wrap for this is a wrap for episode 2 of season 3 of the GameFi podcast. You know what that means? Here come them folks. There go the sirens. They starting again.
Please say come them folks.
Yeah, them folk. Professor Thomas, Coach E, Dr. Thomas, Crane Violet, J. Nicole, Jay Black behind the ones and twos. GameFi podcast, everything gaming, art, music, esports, and film. Thank you for joining us for episode 2 of season 3. We live, y'all. LivehiphopDaily.tv. We're in the Live Hip Hop Daily studios. We're doing our thing. GameFi podcast on everything social. Check us out on the YouTubes, on the Book of Face, on the line, all of that good stuff, man. We're having a lot of fun here. Please reach out to us if you want to be a guest. If you're thinking about sponsoring, so we can talk about what you have coming up. If you have any activities, events, anything coming up, we want to shoot you out. We have a slate of things we're going to be talking about in our next episode, because again, we want to make sure everybody knows what's going on here in the A.
Absolutely. If you're a musician or an artist, also please reach out. We want to feature your work.
A-Town down. Play some games, y'all. Play some games, man. Have fun. Live life like it's golden.
Happy Black History Month and Black Futures
Month.